evening, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Cambodia Global Dialogue of Southeast Asia TV. For those who have not seen the show before, let me just summarize a bit the initiative. We believe that there are so much knowledge out there, there's so much experience out there, there's so much know-how out there, whether nationally, whether internationally, whether in the region. And we felt that Cambodia could benefit a lot from this experience. And throughout this frank exchange, this discussion where it's not scripted, we would pick a team and we would engage into a dialogue. And we hope that through this spontaneous exchange, one or two good ideas from 20, 30 years of experience of that personality, that speaker, could be very beneficial for some of the Cambodian, whether they be policymaker, minister, academician, private sector, or just student. Hopefully they can learn from that. Hopefully they can take this idea and hopefully they can apply into their life, into their society. So basically that's the gist of this program. Today we're just so honored to have the U.S. Ambassador to Cambodia, Ambassador Carol Rodley. Ambassador, I think I like to call you Carol.
That's fine.
Yes. We're quite honored, and for this show is important because it's last year we celebrate 60 years of relationship, of a diplomatic relation with the U.S. Carol, you've been appointed as or sworn in as U.S. Ambassador since 2008, but you're not new to Cambodia.
No, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. We've been friends a long time,
Yes.
and I have been a friend of Cambodia, I hope,
Yes.
for
Yeah.
a long time as
You,
well.
you were Deputy Chief Mission here from 97 to 2000.
That's right.
And maybe you can say a bit about your career.
So, well, I have been a career diplomat for more than 30 years, and I have spent a significant portion of my time right here in Cambodia. As you say, I was here from 1997 to 2000 as the Deputy Chief of Mission, the #2 official at our embassy here. Those were pretty tumultuous times in Cambodia. And so for me, it was both a very big surprise and a very great honor and pleasure to be asked to come back here as the United States ambassador. And arriving in 2008, I have been both amazed and astounded and delighted to see the transformation that has taken place in Cambodia over the past 10 years.
Well, I think, Carol, you know, we sort of have the same path. I was, you know, in Cambodia, and then 2005 I left to Geneva. Yeah. You left to, you know, other assignment abroad. And indeed, when I came back in 99, which is 1 year after you came back, I was impressed with the transformation, wow. You know, and I think that Cambodia is going through a lot of change this last so many years. But you know, the role of the U.S. In the reconstruction of Cambodia, in the period of peace process, later on, you know, into the reconstruction, the redevelopment of the country, and particularly in recent years, more into the economic. And I would say probably the link is more on this pioneer exercise that we did together when we try to look at the trade, you know, linking the labor, protection of the labor right to the export of garment industry. This is quite something quite pioneering that the U.S. and Cambodia have partnered, and it became quite an example for the rest of the world on that. So probably I would like to start from this economic basis. I cannot help it. I'm more a trade guy. And,
it's exactly what I expect of you, Siphana. You know, you mentioned in your remarks the 60th anniversary of diplomatic relations that we celebrated with our Cambodian friends and partners last summer. That was an opportunity for us and for me to reflect on the last 60 years and the evolution of the relationship between our two countries. Yes. Of course, you know, we were very proud to be one of the early countries to recognize Cambodia's independence back in the 1950s. But then, you know, we went through some very, very difficult periods. The Vietnam War, the Cold War, the aftermath of the Cold War, then on through the Paris peace negotiations, the UN
Yes.
operation, an election here in 1993, and everything that came after that. So it was a very good opportunity for us to reflect
Yes.
and understand and talk to each other about what had gone on in the
Yes.
past. And in some
Yes.
cases, we hadn't had those conversations
Yes.
before. But it also led us to the point of focusing on the
Yes.
future,
Yes.
which is where I think you want to go.
Yes, this is it.
Because
I think the recent visit
Yeah.
of Secretary of State Hillary Clinton late last year is such a sign of this strengthening the partnership.
Absolutely, absolutely right. That is certainly our intention. As I said, I came back to a Cambodia in 2008 that was transformed and different in very many ways. And it was clear to me that the bilateral relationship needs to transform in some significant ways as well.
Yes.
One of the areas where it has been transforming for a number of years is trade.
Yes.
An area that you know very well and where you have been a leader, both in the past and I expect you will continue to be in the future. I watched with great amazement, actually, from abroad as Cambodia became the first of the LDCs, the least developed countries, to accede to the World Trade Organization. A very, very significant accomplishment and a reflection of the fact that the Cambodian government is committed to free trade and development of private sector as one of the very significant engines of growth for the economy.
I was honored to be invited by USAID to go to Ethiopia to share the Cambodian experience to the Ethiopian government, which is currently in the process to negotiate the accession. And my message was very clear, because Ethiopia is still very fearful of opening the economy. Yet they have so much potential. And I say, look, I could say this is what happened in the future. But no, I will say that, look, we bite the bullet. We entered the WTO 2004, and 6 years later, look where we are. And this is something that, I believe that that's what is transforming this economy. But looking more to the future, I think Cambodia reached a stage where I believe the transition period is over. We have achieved good growth last 10 years, but the challenge of the post-economic crisis would put a strong pressure on Cambodia to look at the new paradigm, the next paradigm. How do we move from a transformational economy into a stable economy where the challenge is more tough? If we're looking to attract FDI, and that's why I'm so happy that I see progress in the TIFA, the Trade Investment Framework Agreement, and hopefully through this sort of like a tightening of more the rule base, tightening of the transparency approach, these are things will give a confidence into the private sector that you mentioned.
Yeah, confidence is critically important. It's important both on the personal level and on the institutional level and the level of potential investors. I think everyone in Cambodia realizes that the challenge right now is to diversify the economy, because the economy remains very narrowly based and therefore very vulnerable to shocks from the outside, as we saw during the recent global recession.
Exactly.
And diversification is hard.
Yes.
Because the easy sectors have already been developed, and the sectors that remain, where the potential is, I think, still quite large, have some big challenges. Agriculture is one of those. People have been talking about a breakout or a breakthrough in agriculture for more than a decade. It hasn't happened yet, but I sense that we are very close. Cambodia has increased its rice exports steadily over the last 10 years. 2000, Cambodia exported basically zero rice. In 2009, Cambodia exported 800,000 tons. That's a very significant progression, and there's room for a lot more growth in that sector. Now, there are a couple of big obstacles that have to be overcome. high price of electricity being probably, the biggest one across the board. Affects competitiveness in all sectors. But certainly the government, I think, recognizes the need for diversification. The private sector understands this as well. It's just a question of putting the remaining pieces of infrastructure together and addressing, the obstacles.
Carol, last year I was appointed by the Prime Minister to help, negotiate the sales of Cambodian rice to the government of the
really?
Philippines.
I didn't know that.
Oh yes, I was a special envoy to go to the Philippines, informal, just to open the way. And it's interesting when I came back from the Philippines, I wrote an analysis on the rice situation that yes, indeed, market issue is not a problem, but it's more the issue on trade facilitation. That our costs because of this trade facilitation issue is more expensive in Vietnam. So the issue is how do you actually tackle this sort of issue so that you can bring down the cost on one side, and so that requires reform into what you mentioned, institution. It's like Douglas North, he say, institution matter, but only when it is a strong institution that it matter. If it's a weak institution, it doesn't matter.
Because you can go around it or avoid it somehow.
So, and then on the other side, I find that now we look at increasing the productivity of the agriculture. And this is where I see technology matter. This is where I see the linkage to US company who has developed awesome technology, very efficient, very sort of like up state of the art that can really make a difference. If you consume less energy, that's the case in Cambodia. If it's more energy, so like environmental friendly, these are the things that matter. And to me, how do we look at this sort of eco, green, climate change friendly to market, once again, Cambodia as a country that, look, we are organic country. We are tapping into environmental friendly, that sort of thing. And I hope that, because I know the US have just recently started this harvest program. It's a huge program, 50-some million, to help the agriculture sector also cope with climate change. Please.
I'm very, very pleased to have the chance to talk about the harvest program a little bit, because this is the first time that we've been involved in assistance to the agriculture sector. This is a new program for us. I think it's hugely important, and I'm excited about it for a number of reasons. I mean, one, it's focused on trade again, and support to the private sector, but in agriculture. And what this program will seek to do is a series of demonstration projects, working with farmers and extension agents, demonstrating new technologies, new inputs, new seeds, new fertilizers, new pesticides, always with an eye to what's environmentally sustainable, and help farmers to figure out for themselves what can help them be more productive, increase the value of their products, and raise themselves and their families out of poverty in the process. So it's just getting launched, but I have very, very high hopes for this project.
I always look at the rice sector that is a sector that has so much potential, in the sense that if I do just basic math, we 14 million people. About 10 million are in the farm, right? Out of that 10 million, there's about 8 million in the rice farming. So 8 million, we produce about 7 million tons, metric ton of paddy. We consume about 4. So we have down to 3 million metric ton. If you mill it, you have about 1.5 million metric ton. So at an average price of $500, imagine, every year we have almost nearly $1 billion of money before the effect, the multiplicator effect, right? So here, this is where productivity kicks in. This is where this sort of program could really help go over the hump, whether in terms of best practice, whether of regional experience, in terms of technology, In term, I think foremost, we have to go for inclusive growth. Here, I hope the program can help organize the farming community so that they can have a voice, so that they can negotiate better the price. I mean,
That's certainly one of the goals.
Yeah, as simple as negotiating a better price when you buy agricultural input, or negotiating a better price to sell.
Well, and you talk about technology, and there are so many potential applications of technology in the sector. For example, one that was explained to me that has been successful in other agricultural economies is hooking up farmers through their cell phones with crop price data. So your farmer out in a field in Battambang can get on his cell phone, connect to the internet, and see what the price is that day for corn or cassava or whatever, and decide whether to send his crop to market today or wait until next week when he may get a higher price. Very simple. Very inexpensive to do. It just requires the pieces to be put into place, and potentially transformative.
The power of a simple tools, and here that sort of link to the future that I like to see, because you know we are an agricultural society, but you have to move at one point into new source of growth. Sure, you sustain the government as it is, and we're lucky to maintain as it is. You develop the agriculture, but we have to look at other sector that has also potential. And I think the service sector is very crucial. Service sector have to be driven by IT, by technology. I was recently asked to help the association of ICT, Business Association. And here, Microsoft and many big IT companies plan to come to Cambodia. The trick is, how do you harness these young Cambodian who are capable, and this studio is a prime example that is all run by young Cambodian. It makes us feel slightly older.
Yes, indeed, indeed.
And here I see this paradigm of moving to the future, where it has so many implications on the reform of our society in terms of intellectual property protection. And of course, we got a breakthrough WTO by having some extension. But at one point, we have to start enforcing IPR if we are to attract the big company, to attract software company, to give employment to our young software engineer, which we now have. Software engineer, believe me or not.
That's new.
That's it. These are something that they are Googling, they are tweeting, they are Facebooking, whatever it is, right?
And they have very good English language skills. And English has become the language of international business, and it is largely the language of the internet as well. So that's a very big advantage right there. I mean, I agree with you, Siphana. The garment industry, if you can keep it going and expand it somewhat, fine. Improvements in agriculture are also important, and I think very possible, but you have to look ahead for other employment opportunities for the very young population that you have coming up here. And I think the service sector and the IT sector is going to be a big part of that. Now, there are a couple of challenges that the government has to address again. One is the intellectual property issue and the piracy problem here. Frankly, that is a deterrent to international investment and to the big and even the medium-sized companies coming in here. Bandwidth is still limited, and internet access is still expensive relative to other countries in the region. But on the other side, you have all of these smart young people with good English language skills and rapidly increasing IT skills. So I think you have the pieces there to put together into a significant Cambodian IT industry. And I hope very much that that's what's going to be coming in the next couple of years.
The association, the ICT Business Association, one of their agenda is that in 5 or 6 years' time, their goal is to be able to claim a stake in the ASEAN market, that Cambodia should be one of the ASEAN Silicon Valley place. And the reason they asked me to help is more on policy, is more on law,
Yeah.
is more on
Yeah.
how to put the framework together.
Yeah.
But I see the element of success is there because
Yeah.
you see this drive, you see the strong sort of like will to support Microsoft,
Yeah.
Dell,
Yeah.
Intel. So we keep saying, if they can do in Vietnam, why can we not attract them to come here?
Well, you know, Siphana, there's an American NGO working in Phnom Penh. You may have run across it. It's called Digital Divide Data.
That's it.
And
DDD.
they are doing, DDD is doing exactly that. They have carved a niche for themselves in digitizing and indexing academic publications
yes.
from around the world.
Yes.
Their first project was digitizing all the back issues of the Harvard
Yes.
Crimson.
Yes.
They digitized newspapers from Europe, academic publications from Europe and from the United States. They're all very young people, you know, who have been trained locally in the IT skills necessary to do this kind of work, and it's run as a business.
Yes.
They make a profit.
Yes,
so
indeed.
it's a small example, but it's the seed of something that could grow into something really great for Cambodia.
I'm glad you mentioned the word seed because I always look at the, you know, source of growth, but source of growth have to come from a competent workforce.
That's
A
right.
competent workforce have to be educated. And I know every year because I have many, I mentor many young Cambodians, and that's one of my social roles. I sign a lot of sort of like affidavit that I know them, whatever, right? Because they are applying for scholarship left and right. And the U.S. is quite forceful in helping, in fellowship, in, you know, many, the Fulbright. And I met many of these returnees, and believe me, they are transformed kids.
They're great.
Yeah,
So,
and and I see that in the future we need more of this exchange of this the Western way of doing business. They are Cambodian, they understand the Asian way, but how do you bridge the two through a well-informed appreciation of the culture, of the educational side, but also the opportunity to pick the best of each side. And this is something that I told you, my son, he's 10 years old, he's prepping himself to go to option MIT or Virginia Tech or West Point. He's learning one technical word a day.
There's a potential engineer for us.
That's it, right there, right there. But tell me more about, you know, the U.S. in the education program.
Education is, of course, the foundation for almost everything that's going to happen here. So I'm very proud of the opportunities that we've sponsored for Cambodians to do graduate study in the United States through the Fulbright program and through some of our other exchange programs. And as you say, the alumni of those programs who have an association here in Phnom Penh are very, very talented, distinguished scholars and practitioners in their various fields and are doing amazing work back here in Cambodia. We've also been helping the government to improve the quality of education locally, which is, you know, maybe even more important. We have a small assistance program where we work with the Ministry of Education to improve the quality and relevance of teaching and curriculum at the lower secondary school level, because lower secondary, it's a critical point where there's a high dropout rate, and it's kind of a key to unlocking the whole educational system. We have our wonderful Peace Corps volunteers, young Americans, many of them recent college graduates themselves, who are working out in the provinces, out in rural high schools, co-teaching with a Cambodian teacher English at some of these very big high schools out in the rural areas, helping to improve the quality of English language education, which again is an important job skill for a lot of Cambodia's youth. So again, I'm optimistic that a lot of good things are happening, and I see Cambodian young people traveling much more than they ever used to. Going abroad, not only to the United States and Australia and Europe to study, but also to Japan, to Korea, to Singapore, to Malaysia. And this is all good because they come back with different ideas, different
exposed.
attitudes, different worldviews,
yes.
which is
Yes.
very, very important.
Carol, I have to say, to ask you something which is quite personal because,
Oh, dear.
I know that March 8th is International Women's Day.
Yeah.
Having served in Cambodia
Yeah,
twice already,
yeah.
having worked in a gender issue, promoting MDG, what's your view on the role of Cambodian women now?
Oh, Cambodia is blessed with, a very talented, active, engaged group of women. And I've had the pleasure of getting to know many of them personally, and some of them have become my very good friends. One of the things that's so rewarding about working in Cambodia for me, as a woman, as a female diplomat and representative of my country, is that I find Cambodian women in every sector of life. And that's not true in every country. In some countries, women face many more restrictions, legal and cultural restrictions on what they can do and what they can be involved in. But for example, in Cambodia, as you may know, I don't know about your personal situation, but typically the women handle the money in a household.
It's my case too.
So from there, it's a natural path
Yes.
for women into the business world.
Yes.
And you find lots of women entrepreneurs in small businesses and even in some of the bigger businesses.
Yes.
So they're important in the economic activity
Yes.
of the country. You find them in politics, you
Yes.
find them in the NGO sector, you find them in the cultural sector. And so that has been, a wonderful thing for me to have the chance to work with and get to know many of these very dynamic and in some cases courageous, inspiring women.
Yes.
Somali Mom, to
Yes.
mention one,
Indeed,
a
indeed.
very well-known and justly acclaimed Cambodian
I
of
read her
huge
book.
courage
Yes.
who works to combat human trafficking.
Yes.
I'm
Yes.
very proud to call her
Yes.
my friend
Yes.
and thrilled to have had the opportunity to support her work here in Cambodia.
I can attest to something much closer to me. It was my wife. My wife took an evening course with the University of San Francisco law program way in the 90s. Now she's my partner in the law firm.
That's fantastic.
I think she's running the law firm, not me. I'm more doing this frolic activity here and there, but
being a media personality.
but indeed, I see this assertiveness in many of Cambodian women now. The Minister of Women Affairs is such an example, setting the stage. So I would like to say that March 8th should be a good day for not just international women, but Cambodian women.
I second that.
Carol, unfortunately, as always, 30 minutes go so fast. But I just want to wrap up by saying, I look forward to see Cambodia and the U.S. partnership strengthen more, not just in the national bilateral context, but through the regional context. For the ASEAN, I know, the U.S. have signed the Treaty Amity and Friendship. Your role in the region is very important. Your role in supporting climate change, your role in supporting this dynamic shift in the global scene now is very important. And for Cambodia, as a small country, it's important that we have friends. Friends here, friends there, in the region, across the ocean, but we need friends. And this is where we look to see this friendship with America continue. Yeah.
Thank you very much for that, Siphana. We are trying very hard to be a good friend and a good partner to Cambodia, and your partnership in the region and in the world is important to us as well.
Well, once again, Carol, on behalf of probably of the audience, of Cambodian audience, let me say thank you for taking the time to come and have this exchange.
It was really a pleasure. Thank you very much, Siphana.
And Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately we're coming to the end of the program, and I hope you have a fruitful, absorption of what we discuss, and I hope you can do something about it. But otherwise, I'll see you next week. Good night.